yourself.
So hi, I'm Pippa, and this is my little cottage, and this is where I make my jewellery. So these are all of my tools that I use to make my jewellery. So to start with, here's the silver. So I buy this in Margaux, it's sterling silver, and you can get it in loads of different shapes and sizes. So I usually get a bit of band, a bit of plate and some wire, so you can see the different types there. And I guess, yeah, just depending on what I'm making, I need different bits and bobs. So these are just some rings that I've been playing around with. So to make a really simple ring like this, you would basically start with this piece of metal. So what you would do is use this ring sizing stick. You can get people to use this little utensil to figure out what their ring size is. There you go, so it's got all of the sizes on there. And then you would heat up the metal, let it cool again so that it's nice and malleable, and then you obviously measure it around the stick so that you get the correct length. Then I obviously have the cutters there just to cut off the correct amount of metal. And then if you want to give it a texture, so I really like a hammered finish, which you can see there. It's just, I don't know if you can see, or otherwise you can like give it a filed finish. There's different things you can do. So you do that at this stage, and after that you heat it up again, and that's when you solder. So soldering is the process that you use to fuse two pieces of metals together, and for that you use borax or this flux and the blowtorch. So I'll show you the process of soldering on a different ring. So I'm making this one, which is going to be quite similar to this one. So I'm making it with a green aventurine, and yesterday I made the little house for it, and today I'm going to solder on this little piece on which I will balance the ring, so that will make the bottom of the ring. So yeah, it's a good example of how soldering works. So we have our two pieces of metal. I filed both of the surfaces to make sure they're smooth, which should help them to stick together. And then I use the flux. So I have this, and I also have borax, which I mix with water. Both do the same thing, but this is just easier to use because it's the spray top. So I put a little bit on there. Then I add the solder, which is this. So this is silver, 50% silver, 50% bronze, which you mix together in the jeweler's shop. And then they roll it so it's really, really thin, and this has a lower melting point than the silver. So I cut a tiny bit of that. I think it's a little too big. Oops. And I put that on there with the help of tweezers. So then I get the blowtorch. You can't really see because it's outside, but it is on. And yeah, so what you want to do with the blowtorch is heat up the whole house, because you kind of heat up the metal and then the solder melts into it, if that makes sense. Heat all around, and then there you go. Okay. So yeah, and then I will take out the tweezers seconds because it's still hot, and then just pop it in some water. So yeah, that's how soldering works. And then it still leaves a little bit around the joint, so I need to get my files just to like neaten up the edges and make it look a bit prettier. So yeah, it's the same process with using all metal. So you can see that the two pieces are now stuck together. So to finish this ring, what you would then do would be the same on the other side, so put that little bit in there. And then use this band which I made out of the wire, and then I'd attach that on to obviously make the actual ring. And then you just pop the stone in the top, which you then secure with glue, and you can use a hammer just to close the edge around the top just to make sure it's nice and secure, and then you polish it. I have a power tool in the post, so yeah, and then that's the end of the ring. That's it finished. And then yeah, it'll look just like this one. And so this is the acid as well, which we use. So when you finish soldering a piece, so for example with this, once I'd attached all of the pieces together, you dip it in the acid, which helps to remove any of the blackness that's left from the soldering, and it keeps the metal nice and supple as well. So if you look at this one that I made a few months before, you can see there's the band and then the two little bits and the glue, keeping it all nice and secure. And then just some other tools. This is just a ring mandrel, so you can put the ring on there and then you hammer it round, just to make sure that the ring band is perfectly round. This is a hand drill, which I've been playing with to make earrings. So yeah, it just makes a nice 1mm hole on earrings. And this is for twisting metal. So on some of the rings that I've made, that have a twisted finish, I use that to do those. At first it was just fun to make little things for myself, but now I am starting to look into selling them. I've opened a little Etsy shop which is called i.anoKi Creations, and hopefully when things open up a little bit more I can start going to some market.
It's time to free yourself.
Yes, I think one of the things about making jewellery is that you really have to have an empty mind to do it. You really need to focus and concentrate. So in a way it's kind of like a meditation. And then obviously living here in Uganda, it's so calm and peaceful.
It's time to free yourself.
Yeah, I think now that I have my tools at home, just the freedom to be able to play around with it and practice is nice. And obviously knowing that if I ever want to move, I can just chuck all this in a bag and be portable, which is nice to know. So yeah, there is definitely a sense of freedom. So thank you for coming to see my little jewellery studio.